Jack Tuckner here. It's March 24th, 2020. I'm in New York. I'm an employment lawyer in New York where we're currently the epicenter of the coronavirus. We have more than half of the United States cases. We have more than 5% of the world's cases. It's a big challenge we're all facing. And regarding pregnancy issues, I know I represent many pregnant women. With regard to workplace issues, there's a lot of concern, undoubtedly now, regarding pregnancy and safety issues. According to the CDC, by the way, there has been no known transmission of coronavirus to unborn or newborn babies, even from infected mothers at this point. So the same precautions still hold, and be extremely cautious and obviously exercise social distancing. But there's no reason to panic. Children have been largely unaffected, and again, babies, none, even from infected women. So of course, check with your obstetrician, of course, and keep up with the CDC guidelines. But it seems that that is nothing to panic about in and of itself. Regarding work situation, here's a tip that's a little bit of the flip side of what's been going on with people losing their jobs, including pregnant women, which remains illegal if you're fired and one of the reasons or part of the reason you were terminated is your pregnancy. But if you work in New York and you're still working and you're one of the employees who's considered by your employer an essential or 25% of the staff that is still required to report to work, whether in New York City or outside of New York City, you're entitled to flexibility from your employer during your pregnancy. In other words, you're entitled to special treatment, different from your so-called comparator non-pregnant colleagues. You're entitled to a conversation, a dialogue with your employer about your pregnancy issues, currently the risks to you and your unborn child from this pandemic. You're also entitled to flexibility just because of the known limitations of your pregnancy. So if you're still required to commute to the workplace, this would be, and you don't want to, this would be the time to raise this issue formally in writing, preferably with your employer, about your request for what's known as a reasonable accommodation of your pregnancy. And if that accommodation is that you're not required to get out on the road and go to work and expose yourself to greater risks of contracting the virus, that is something, and that is a request that your employer must take seriously, and in my view, should almost certainly accommodate and grant it, right? Unless they can argue that it would be a severe undue hardship to their business by allowing this for you, and that's a difficult burden, one would think that your employer would strive at this time to be flexible, especially as all you're probably really attempting to do is to get through safely, get through term, get through until your baby is born unscathed by workplace issues or being terminated, or of course by the virus itself. I'll be back here tomorrow to answer other questions that have been arising daily regarding the confusing patchwork of new extended leave laws, federal and state, and I'll try to answer all those questions. If you have a particular question, you can hit me up right here on LinkedIn or shoot me an email at jtuckner@womensrightsny.com. Oh, and by the way, I'm not immune from the panic and anxiety we're all feeling. If you're interested, I posted down below a link to a 20-minute video from spiritual teacher Eckhart Tolle that I found particularly calming, because we all have to find a way to not live with that panic of our thoughts about what may occur, because can't live that way. And the anxiety and the stress, particularly for pregnant women, is really unnecessary, right? On a moment-to-moment basis, we have to find some kind of a space where we're not living in constant dread. So Perhaps someone will actually click on it and find it helpful. Please let me know if you do, or feel free to share it. We all need a little bit of help in that regard these days too. Until tomorrow, this is Jack Tuckner. I'll see you then.